Welcome, everyone, to the last ever racecast.
Can we say that?
Well, it's true. It is true, and it may not be as bad or as good as some of you are thinking, because we say last ever racecast. It's not the last ever podcast. Now, that's a little bit ambiguous. Can't say too much more, other than the fact we are taking 1 week off. We will be coming back after testing. What's the official date that we'll be back?
So our first date, well, our new date we'll be back is the 4th of March. Tuesday the 4th of March.
5 p.m, right? And here's what I want you to do, because there are some very specific instructions that I need you to follow. And it's imperative that you do so. You are going to have to follow us on Instagram at Racecast. Is it just... What's our Instagram? Is it Racecast?
Racecast Insta.
Insta. Okay, I thought so. It's going to be up on screen now at Racecast Insta, right? And the reason being is that you are not going to find the full episode of that future podcast on this channel. Now, you will get clips on this channel. That is all we can say. Where you listen to us, if you're listening to us on audio and Spotify, that will remain exactly the same. There will be a rebrand coming as well. We will no longer operate under the name Racecast, hence the last ever Racecast. It is going to stay the same to some extent, other than get even better. Even better. Don't laugh. Why are you laughing?
I'm not laughing. I'm laughing because...
It can't get even better.
No, I'm laughing, and it's probably a sad laugh because it is our last Racecast.
Yeah, it's weird. We started Racecast. Christ, I can't even remember. I mean, 2022 for sure. It must have been the start of the 2022 F1 season.
It was the start of 2022 because in 2021 I started a podcast called the R Line Podcast.
Yeah.
So basically the Racing Line Podcast. You featured a few times, and then but 2022 we really actually went, you know what? If we're going to do this, let's do it properly.
Yep.
And that's when Racecast was born. So forward on to now, like, it's sad. It is sad, but I'm also very excited for what's to come, and hopefully you guys are too, because there is big things coming.
This is a big thing, right? This is a good thing. I promise you, this is a good thing. The content's not going to change. Of course, the content's not going to change. No one can put shackles on us. Come on. So that's all I can say. Make sure you go and follow Racecast Insta. Do that right now, because you know the name of that is also going to change. And yeah, that's pretty much the only information I can give you. Thank you very much for joining us on this journey of Racecast. It's been a topsy-turvy one, you know. Started strong, gave up, came back, and now we're kicking the gas. We are going to be accelerating things for the 2025 season, and we really, really want all of you, even the Colapinto fans, to join us as we head into the new season, because we're all excited for a number of reasons, and we think that this is the place to be for the more casual F1 fans. Should we just say, I feel like the reason Racecast is so good is because I don't think we ever sit here and try and act as if we're this fountain of knowledge.
No, I think when you look at us, we have our discussions, we give our opinions, but we're not that type of podcast who delve into, you know, the mechanical side as much, because we just don't know it.
Yeah, it's as simple as that. And do you know what? We never come on here and lie about that. There are some things we do know, right? Probably not in terms of aerodynamics or mechanics or whatever. But there are things that we know, and we always try and share our knowledge. But I think the important part of this podcast is there's never meant to be like a knowledge gap between, you know, us and you. It's not like there are some great podcasts that you can listen to that you get for like a wealth of knowledge. You know, oh, this is really interesting. I never understood this. This is, for us, it's always been like a fan discussion. Sort of like the discussion you'd have at the pub with your friends or...
Yeah, and the thing I like about... Well, I say I like it because we do it. But we talk because we know the drivers, we know the sport.
We know the drivers really well.
Yeah, and we know that, well, not really well, but you know what I mean. We know how they drive. We know what you expect from each driver. We know the teams. We know the personalities on the grid. So for us, actually talking about it, and I suppose it is like that, isn't it? You know, sitting at the pub just talking about F1, and that's kind of what it's like. You and I meet up each week, and we just give our own opinions, and you guys get involved, which is great.
And that's why, you know, like, if you hate our opinions, great, because that's just like the internet's equivalent of you, like, throwing a bag of peanuts at me in the pub. You know, we want you to disagree with us. We are not coming here ever as the guys that we know best, because we absolutely don't. I mean, I come up with some, like, shocking, horrendous opinions, which 90% of the time are true. And that's, you know, that's just because I am, you know, I'm just kind of always right. It's a curse.
But we started off as, you know, those, Drive to Survive fans. That's what people used to call us. Wasn't true, but we don't have that as much now.
But should I also just say, we have always sat here and said, if you are a Drive to Survive fan and you got into the sport through Drive to Survive, there's literally nothing wrong with that. You know, someone that fell in love with F1 in 2022 because of Drive to Survive could 100% have more knowledge than someone that's been watching the sport since 1990. You know,
because as we know, there's a lot of fans who actually fell out of love with the sport who have been watching it for years. So you get the new era in as well.
It's all about your dedication to the sport. Do you know what? It doesn't matter why you started watching, why you're carrying on watching.
Yeah.
If you like the sport, you like the sport. We don't care where you've come from. We're just here for a good laugh. So please do stick around, because this episode is not going to be some sentimental, crappy episode where we just talk about the history of race cars.
It has started off a bit more emotional than I thought it was going to be fair.
Well, I mean, we had to say thanks to everyone who stuck around for race cars, but we, you know...
Don't go.
Yeah, we want you to carry on with us as we head into the new year, like the new season.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, I'll give you a little air respect. That was a spud. For those of you listening, I made the noise.
Are you okay?
Well, it's just, you know, I'm just showing my gratitude.
Respect.
Yeah.
Right, before we get started, okay.
Coming up segment,
but I've also got you another gift.
Oh my God.
No,
stop.
No. Look, I appreciate you, and I think you will like this one.
No,
but
I won't.
Okay. So if you haven't watched last week's episode, I got Luke a gift. He didn't like it. I ended up taking it back home. However, okay, I'm going to give you...
Is that thing down there? Because I saw that and I thought, oh, that fucker. He left the book from last time.
No. So I'm going to make a deal with you. And this is where it gets quite interesting. I'm going to give you 2 guesses of what it is. If you get it right...
I don't have to have it.
You don't have to have it.
Holy.
However, you don't get it right, you have to keep it.
Yeah, well,
and
I have to donate it to charity.
It will take pride on one of our sides, one of our desks.
Well, not enough room.
Yeah, no, definitely. Right, so, you know, I appreciate you. We've been doing this now for a while, and I'm always the one who actually gives you gifts.
Always a sodding book as well.
Right. Obviously, look, it's pretty poor wrapping as well. I couldn't find any sellotape, so...
You've used parcel tape?
Yes, so...
There's not even a bow on it.
No, I'm sorry about that.
And it's in Christmas paper.
It's Christmas paper. That's all I could find. So,
Someone
2
told
guesses.
us to get proper mics, by the way. Have you seen that comment?
What, in this week's? We're going to go through that in a minute.
What's wrong with these?
Nothing wrong with these. We like these. Okay, 2 guesses. Have a feel.
Where's a book?
Okay, well done. But what...
Right, well, there you go.
No.
Well, I got it right.
But what book is it?
Oh, let me guess. The Bible. I don't know.
Take a guess. It's F1 related.
The Bible, then. It's an autobiography of Lando Norris.
Wrong.
How
More guess.
How many guesses do I get?
2.
Unconventional. Normally you get 3.
Yeah, well, I make the rules here.
Why do I get 2?
I make the rules.
But do I get any sort of hint?
Nope.
What? So like, okay, it's something to do with the FIA's code of conduct and regulation.
No. You will like this one, though. I guarantee it. You're wrong. So you're going to keep it anyway, but you can open it.
Oh, it's so old again. So old. Everything's so old.
This is something which I actually picked up when I was clearing out my cupboards last week. But you
Oh,
all
did
like, yeah, you you all like this
Surprised
one.
that.
Yeah, you all like it. See, comment down below if you think Luke is ungrateful. Do let me know.
No, I'm not ungrateful.
Well, you
Because I said I didn't want it in the first place.
that's a bit ungrateful. Last week I gave you a good one, David's Diary. A lot of people would have wanted that.
So now got a Lewis Hamilton autobiography, which he's a bit young to have an autobiography at this time.
Come on, show the camera then.
All right, there you go.
Yeah,
What does it say? Grew up, became a racing driver.
pretty much. Yeah.
Should I pick a random
Pick a random page.
and read a? Is it an excerpt? Is that what it's called?
I don't know.
Is that?
Shall I give you a page number?
No, I'll just pick a random one.
Okay.
Because then I've got to flick through and
Okay.
find it.
Pick a
So
random
I'm
one.
just gonna go here.
Okay.
Ron Dennis always mentions it to me. He kids me about it. Oh, I know you're always pinching pennies, and I'm like, hold on a sec. We've not had a lot of money to grow up with, and I don't need to go and spend any money. And that is right. I have a car provided for me by Mercedes-Benz, which I'm very fortunate to have. There isn't anything else that I need at the moment, but if there is, it's taken care of by my dad. Honestly, there is nothing else I could possibly want. Dad and I once talked figures of what I could earn in the next few years as a Formula One driver, and we could not even imagine a tiny fraction of what people say I could earn. It's just crazy. Now, I'll tell you what is crazy, right, is that this is obviously from very early on in Lewis Hamilton's F1 career, where he was probably, earning a good amount of money. Yeah. And by that, I probably mean potentially 7 figures a year. Maybe he was on £1 million a year, something like that. I don't know. I'm sure that it's probably out there somewhere. And he's thinking, wow, if I'm an F1 driver for just a few more years, we could have X amount of mil in the bank. That would be crazy. Did he ever expect to be worth what is reported 300 to 400 million?
Did he ever expect to actually go on and have so much success that he had as well?
I know, but I mean, this specifically refers to money.
Yeah. I can't imagine
about the money.
I know. Yeah. Well, all right, sorry. Oh, someone's a bit touchy, aren't they?
Do you reckon he ever expected to have that nice long hair back here? When
considering he had no hair.
Well,
at the
yeah,
time.
exactly. It was quite a turnaround.
Yeah, they got pictures in there and everything.
But I think it's crazy because there's being rich, right?
Yep.
And a lot of F1 drivers are very wealthy. Then there's being Lewis Hamilton wealthy, which is generational, filthy, stinking rich.
Yep.
And I think what's interesting from this is he's sort of at a period of his life where he's talking about, I've got everything I need. And then he's thinking oh my God, if I carry on earning like this, for, a good few seasons as an F1 driver, we'll be laughing.
Yeah.
But that obviously would have transformed his life, but he's not only just transformed his life, he's transformed generations of Hamilton's lives with this wealth. It's insane.
Well, you always hear, don't you, about his mum and dad. Going back to that photo. There's a
one. Really good podcast if you're listening, by the way, guys.
Yeah.
As we go through a book.
Oh, where is it? There's a look at that yellow.
Yeah, it's a nice helmet for those of you watching. You can look there. For those of you listening, it is Lewis Hamilton, very close up, sitting in a car with his nice yellow helmet, which we all love. And obviously he has brought back to some degree. So,
all right. So out of the gifts, is that better than last week's?
I mean, it's better than last week's.
Will you read it?
No.
Okay. Will you keep it? Well, you have to, actually.
Well, yeah, no, of course.
I don't want to see it in a charity shop, right, next week.
Do you go into those a lot?
No, but, walking past, I can imagine that would be fun to the window.
No, weirdly, I actually got an email from Oxfam the other day saying that some items that I donate, I was a bit angry, actually. It said they've sold and made £38. I gave quite a lot.
Did you?
I thought surely people are paying more than that.
What did you give away?
Clothes and stuff?
Yeah, but what type of clothes?
No,
are they like brand stuff, or are they just not the
good stuff?
Well,
no, I'm joking. Of course, it was just whatever. Whatever I decide. I'm not going to wear anymore. I just take to the charity shop.
Very noble of you.
£38. I thought, come on.
Okay, let's get on to some F1 news, shall we? Right, coming up on today's episode, we're going to be looking at the new Williams. Also, Sebastian Vettel, will he be returning to F1? Alpha Tauri, Franz Tost, Tost?
Franz Tost.
Yeah, it's back in the news.
Yeah.
Carlos Sainz gives their say on the swearing controversy by the FIA. High chance Hamilton will challenge for F1 titles with Ferrari, insists Carlos Sainz. Also, so much other news. We'll be talking Max Verstappen, Colapinto. We got guess the driver, and I've also got the hypothetical question for you.
And we have also not only seen the Williams, we've seen the Haas.
Yeah.
And the McLaren.
Yeah. And we've got fan questions. So a lot to come up on this podcast. And I know we're already 15 minutes in. So thank you for sticking with us. But just, what a new segment where we're going to start doing when we come back is looking at the comments from last week on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Only specifically our YouTube channel. So it is important you go over there and comment because you may feature on this week's. So 282 Let's Bled said Jack Doohan has not been spectacular in any category to deserve that seat in F1. His only advantage is his patience as Alpine's reserve driver. Let's not fool ourselves. I can't speak tonight.
No, you are struggling. But all I would say is this is obviously this is referring to the segment where a few times we've spoken about the fact that Jack Doohan has been given the seat, so he should be given his chance. And the Colapinto thing we think is harsh, right? Just how it's sort of the pressure that it puts on him. I think a lot of the time, maybe this is how we word it, but a lot of the time people fail to understand that we're not saying that Jack Doohan deserves that seat.
Yeah.
We're saying that he deserves the opportunity now he has the seat. He does have the seat. So if they've given it to him, give him the opportunity to perform to his maximum. And all I will say to that is, did Colapinto excel in all other categories? Because we know at the time he was doing all right in F2. Yeah. He wasn't like, performing how say like Paul Aron was or Bortoletto. We weren't like hearing about Colapinto. It wasn't someone when you were watching F2 was kind of always.
But like we said,
out.
he came out of nowhere, and I was just like,
yeah. So that's the thing. Like I think that argument as to why you'd pick Colapinto over Doohan is kind of moot. But look, we gave our thoughts last week. Colapinto is going to get that seat. We're going to be honestly, unbelievably happy to see him in the sport. We're human beings. We feel a little bit of compassion towards Jack Doohan and the sort of horrible situation. That's why I say part of me is like, I'm actually kind of rooting for him because I think, well, it'd be nice to see him. It's an underdog story now for him, isn't it?
Yeah. Have you seen the pictures of Pierre Gasly and Jack Doohan in their new ovals?
Yes.
So
very bald.
Yeah, is that like a thing? The only way you can get an Alpine seat is if you have
I'm speculating here. I think it's a pretty fair speculation. Pierre Gasly has had a hair transplant.
Essentially.
The only reason, because I don't think he's had like the whole shabam. Like when Theo got one, went terribly wrong by the way. Well, just didn't work. I think he's just had the the little
the sides bit,
he's just had those plugged, like Mohamed Salah. So all you need to do is buzz, and then they just fill it in.
It suits him though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he'd probably disagree because he's obviously only buzzed his hair to get more hair, so he can inevitably grow it out long. But yeah, that's why I think he's buzzed it, and Jack Doohan's probably buzzed it because he's having a bit of a crisis, and it's one less thing to worry about. Waking up and having to do your hair.
Yeah. Right. Matthew said, not me, by the way, I really hope Team Radio doesn't go. The amount of funny and iconic moments that come from them, F1 just wouldn't be the same. Anyways, love the pod as usual. Thank you very much, Matthew.
Thanks,
but I agree. Getting rid of the radios would be awful. It'd be awful. And he's right. There's been so many good iconic moments.
Yeah.
Although... I don't know if you've seen a clip from Formula E this weekend. One of the drivers. Yeah, my God, he went off.
Yeah, so for those of you, actually, we have a friend, Andy, who used to race in Ginettas. We used to race in the Ginetta Cup. He's told me some interesting stuff, some insider stuff that, I mean, to be honest, I don't really understand, but it all sounds there's a lot of drama. He's always begging to come on as well, but don't have another mic. So, but he's told me a few things about Dan Ticktum, and the sort of common consensus is anyway, even amongst fans, is that Dan Ticktum never really made it because of his attitude and how he is.
I mean, from this weekend, you can understand why.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't know what we're talking about, it's he now races in Formula E. He was leading the race. Something happened. I don't know. I don't really understand Formula E. It's a bit too electric. And he had to come in. It all went wrong. He ended up like basically being lapped.
Yeah.
And he was not very happy about it. So if you want to check that clip out, go to Twitter and search Dan Ticktum. I'm sure it will come up. It's very entertaining watch, and it's about 1.5 minutes long of him basically abusing his team down the mic. So yeah.
Two more comments. One of them is a slightly longer one, but the other one did make me laugh. Mary Easton said, "This would be so much better if you didn't use like as a filler word every second word."
Did I replied to that one?
No, you didn't.
I did. What? I definitely did, because what I say to you, Mary,
Yep.
is I said, hopefully Matt gets me a thesaurus next episode for my gift. So
You commented on the one which says, "Is it possible to add timestamps to these videos?" And you went, "We nominate you."
oh my god, yeah. I'm not doing timestamps, guys.
Why?
But like we say, for future, this will be more clips based. This channel, the full podcast as a video will still be available on YouTube. More details to follow.
And when we say clips, what it would basically be, it'd be when we talk about a specific topic, which may be 5-10 minutes long.
Yeah,
That's what will be coming on the channel. But the full version of the podcast will be available elsewhere. But we'll talk about that next time we come back. Final one from the comments from last week. Pearl Aqua Ocean commented, "I throw my opinion into the ring in regards to merch. I am absolutely fine with people wearing multiple teams. I know I would if I went to a race. Franco made me a fan of Williams and now they're my team. But my favourite driver are Franco and George, so I might have to rep an Alpine or Mercedes hat with my Williams hoodie. It just means someone loves and supports more than one thing, and I don't see that as a bad thing. Also, merch is expensive and people shouldn't have to buy a whole wardrobe when their driver moves. I do not know people's lives, so who am I to judge? It doesn't hurt anyone, it just shows the love of someone they has for F1. Very nice comment.
yeah,
I agree.
Well, the only sticking point for me, I'm a little bit confused, is Franco made him a fan of Williams, but he's also a fan of George. So interestingly, why is he not a Mercedes fan? Only because Franco only came into the sport, this year.
Yep.
Well, last year.
Don't know.
Well, he didn't like George enough to support the team. Who did he support prior to Franco?
I'm assuming George. I don't know. I don't know.
Did he have a team?
Comment down below. Answer Luke's question. Do let us know.
There was someone who said that we think we know more than Briatore and Christian Horner. Did I see that one?
Let me have a look.
Also, this is also the thing, right? We started the podcast by saying this is a place for opinions.
Oh, so you think your Briatore and Horner are wrong? Poor you.
I don't know why why poor us. But fans are allowed opinions, and that doesn't mean we think we could come in and do a better job than anyone in the space. If I say Lance Stroll sucks, doesn't mean I think I could sit in the seat and do better than it. I mean, I probably could, but bad example. But no, it doesn't mean we think we can do better than people. It just means we have an opinion on something. And
how dare you?
I will say, Christian Horner, or whoever makes the decisions to get drivers in, has made quite a lot of bad decisions. He hasn't got a 100% success rate.
No.
So, Gasly, Kvyat, Albon. We've had many before. I think it's interesting to assume that fans can never have an opinion while not thinking that they're better equipped for the job than someone else.
No, I agree.
So poor you.
Right, let's get into some F1 news. That's what you're here for. So, Williams were the first team to release their livery for 2025, and you haven't properly seen it, have you? So I'll show you that.
I mean, I have seen it. I have seen it since. Yeah.
I mean, look, I liked it last year. This type of style.
It looks pretty
It
much
looks pretty
exactly the
much the
same.
same. But obviously this year you have the Santander logos on
Yeah.
it. You got a bit more black on there. It looks sick. It looks good. I like the fact that the actual Duracell battery isn't as prominent, if that makes sense, as it
Yeah.
was before.
But I still love how the Duracell branding is on there as if it looks like a battery.
Yeah.
I think that is a very cool touch. I know that they've had that like already, but like as a design touch, that is nice.
Yeah.
And Carlos Sainz obviously revealed his new helmet.
Looks decent.
Yep, does look decent. But yeah,
I have to say the helmets look good all around this year.
Yep.
I do like Max's. I know it's still the white and the blue and the red, but it just looks slick.
Yeah, well, he sort of moved away from like the white and gold
Yeah.
that he's had since becoming a world champion. But yeah, no, it's good. And aesthetically, yeah, that car's nice, but we know we like the Williams blue. I stand by the fact I would like to see more blue on it. We actually had a comment because we spoke about how colourful the cars used to be from the picture in the book. And so, someone made a good point. You can look back at 2020. Think how vibrant the grid was.
Yeah.
The orange McLarens, the pink Racing Points, the yellow Renaults. Like, you had all these different colours. Like, obviously, red Ferraris. And, we have lost that vibrancy on the grid. Like, when you look at it now, there is a lot of black there and there's not a lot of colour pop.
No. Do you know what? I was thinking about this. Obviously, with Williams, we have to give them a lot of credit because you take yourself back to a year ago where they struggled basically to get their car ready for the launch date. It was all kind of rushed and everything. They had a nightmare, trying to get it all built in time. And then when they did get it built, they realised that it was overweight. So then they had the whole issues with that. So to actually fast forward a year of, obviously, they've expanded their team now. They're over about 900 workforce compared to what they had before. They're in a position where already they're the first team to release their livery, take their car out in front of all the media and prove, it's underweight, it's where it needs to be, it's all ready to go. They look a much more settled team.
Should I just say, I think one of the most important things about that wasn't included there is people actually care about the Williams car launch now. Now, I know what you're thinking, like, I know Williams have a huge fan base and are like a really, an iconic team in the sport, but their drop-off was insane. Like,
100%.
I think now you look at the driver pairing, people are looking at Williams like, they are one to watch. So instantly, like this year, I was more interested in the Williams car launch because of the makeup of the team. And I think that's really important from a commercial aspect, that actually people are interested in Williams again, because it is a little bit sad when a team is consistently at the back. And when they had a period where they had a young George Russell there and a Nicholas Latifi, and then Alex Albon, Latifi again, but Albon was a big signing for them. But then to replace Albon, to replace Latifi with Sargent, it's always a little bit like,
it's underwhelming.
Yeah, like they never felt like a team that was like, no, that keep your eye on them, because you just thought, no, they're just not going to do anything.
You could never really take them seriously, could you, by the signings?
Now they get James Vowles in. Now they're doing all these things that we know, they're working towards for 2026. Then on top of that, they actually bring Carlos Sainz in. All of a sudden, fans are interested in Williams again. Because, that's the nature of the sport. You drop, McLaren went many years without a lot of fan interest compared to, say, when they were doing really well before the turbo hybrid era. And now for McLaren, that interest has come back. I guarantee 5-6 years ago, no one was interested in McLaren livery launches. You just weren't, because of sort of what the team had become. You're just less interested in them. And it's the same with Williams. But now I bet they had if they were tracking the numbers of people that were watching that or tuning into it, I bet it was one of the highest they've had for years.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think what's sad with Williams is, like you say, when they're fighting at the back of the grid, is this is a team with so much history. When Frank Williams, was at the helm, they had so much success. Nigel Mansell, Damon Hill, Jack Villeneuve, all of those drivers, and to see, like you said, the drop off was so rapid. To actually now, for fans who have been around for years, to see this Williams team come back now is brilliant.
Well, because a lot of new F1 fans will probably consider Williams a bit of a joke team.
Yeah,
with every right. Like, there's no need for every fan to come to the sport and understand the history of it or whatever. Like, this is, one day you'll look back and this will be your history. But, like, you would come to the sport and think, oh my God, like, Williams, they're a shocking team. But actually, they're one of the biggest teams on the grid in terms of sort of history and stature.
They had Senna drive for them. They've had some massive names drive for them over the years.
And, even, when Bottas and Massa were racing there, they weren't a half bad team.
No. For me, it's just great to see. I've always had a soft spot for Williams. And I've said on this podcast many times, I really like James Vowles, and I really believe he can take them to the next level. This year, everything is building up for 2026. That's ultimately what, James Vowles says, 2024, 2025 is a learning and experiment time for us. But 2026 is where we're going to really start to see the progression.
Could we argue that Williams are the only truly authentic British team?
Could do.
Mercedes, I know they're all based in England or whatever, but Mercedes are a German team. Aston Martin, formerly Racing Point, and McLaren, a British car brand?
Yeah.
I know, obviously, again, they're based out of England, but Williams. They are Williams. They are British motorsport racing.
If you're a Williams fan, I want to hear from you. Comment down below. How long have you supported Williams? And when you did start supporting Williams, who was the driver who you were watching at the time? But I'm really excited to see what they're going to do. I do have a soft spot for them, and I am excited.
I think we all want Williams to do well.
No, I agree. So, other news. Sebastian Vettel. Yeah. Could he make a return to the sport?
I saw this. Is it right?
What? He's 37 years old.
Which
is still in theory, when you look at Fernando Alonso, Lewis Hamilton is still very young.
But what I will say is Sebastian Vettel, towards the end of his career, I'm not saying he certainly didn't look like a bad driver. He looked like a driver that just didn't have the heart for it anymore. He just, I don't know, he didn't have the passion there. And he had his other projects going on. And it was kind of like, it looked like he had fallen out of love with the sport. Yeah,
but sometimes people do have to take a step back to actually, reignite that love for the passion. And maybe that's what he's done. Again, this is only speculation that he will return. But from what we're hearing, he's really keen to get back in the sport. As we know, Cadillac are coming into the sport. Could he be an option for them?
Well, because I also saw that Cadillac the rumour is that they're talking to Sergio Perez about filling a vacancy. Would you who are you taking? If you're Cadillac right now, and let's say you've only got one seat to fill. No, they've got two. Are you taking Sebastian Vettel or Sergio Perez?
Sebastian Vettel.
Why?
I think for his name in itself, you're a new team coming into the sport. Having a driver, someone like Sebastian Vettel, will only bring attention and bring good press because he was a fan favourite.
Yep.
He's been out in the sport for a couple of years. You don't lose it. You still have that knowledge. You still have that experience. You still have that. And if he's coming back now with that passion after being away from the sport for a while, then you're going to have a very good heart. You're going to have a very decent driver back in your team. Sergio Perez, we've given our thoughts on Sergio Perez. He just fell off a cliff very quick.
And I think that's the worrying thing with Perez. Because all I will say is out of the two of them, Perez has been better more recently.
But he's been in a better car.
He has also been in the better car. So,
that Aston Martin for when Sebastian Vettel, when he left, wasn't great.
yeah, it wasn't.
So,
imagine if he had just stayed there one more year.
But,
One more year.
we say that, Sebastian Vettel just didn't look like he was interested. But when you've got a car like that, then you are going to look like... And if you've made that decision to leave, you're like, this team's not going anywhere.
No, I don't disagree with that. But look, I'm not going to sit here and say I would take Sergio Perez. Or there aren't many people I would take over Sebastian Vettel, even though he's had a couple of years out of the sport. I think, granted, he proves that he's bang up for it. And actually, I want to do this. This is my priority. I want to come back and I want to try and win a 5th world championship. I'd be like, let's get him in. I don't want him just coming back because he misses racing.
No.
I want him to come back because he's got a burning desire to win. Because I think that's how you're going to get the best out of Seb.
Okay, answer me this, okay? So Sebastian Vettel says he comes back. Are you taking him... I'm just going to name a couple of drivers and to see. Mm-hmm. Would you take Sebastian Vettel over Lance Stroll?
Yes.
Alex Albon.
Oh, that's a really tough one. Yes, I would, because I don't believe, and I really like Alex Albon, I don't believe he's a world champion. Now, a lot of you are going to sit there and be like, well, not being funny, Seb hasn't won a world championship since 2013. True. He went head-to-head with Lewis. Always came out on the wrong end of that. But he's proven that he's got it in him. Now, it may be gone. But in my opinion, there's more chance there of Seb winning it than Albon.
Okay, finally. Your Red Bull.
Yeah.
Are you taking Sebastian Vettel over Liam Lawson?
Ooh. This is
if you're listening to that must be
I don't know. I think you've kind of got to.
It's hard, isn't it? Because
I also think that to me fits in better with what Red Bull is. Red Bull have a number one driver. The reason Sergio Perez worked so well there, until it just got too bad that it wasn't feasible for the team to keep him on board, is that he was just established as number 2. Liam Lawson is 22, 23 years old, whatever. Nobody at that age is coming into the sport and being like, yeah, I'll be number 2. No chance in hell. So it's going to get fractious, the relationship. It absolutely is. You can't dispute that, because whether it's internal, Liam Lawson, if he's consistently getting beaten by Max Verstappen, will absolutely implode, right? And if actually it's a lot closer than we're all expecting, then the relationship between the two of them will get nasty, because it just will. They're both hungry.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you have someone like Seb in there, you get 2 options or 2 possible scenarios of one where he's very happy to just be number 2. He's going to be good. He's going to pick up the points consistently. Or actually, somehow it's like a Seb 2013 regen and he comes in and challenges Max Verstappen to, which I don't think would happen at this point. But I'm saying they're the 2 possible scenarios. So yeah, I take Sebastian Vettel over Liam Lawson. I think Liam Lawson would also understand.
And this is what goes back to my point earlier. Every single driver I've put Sebastian Vettel to you against, so Liam Lawson, Alex Albon, that you've said you would take him. So actually, if you get a driver, if Sebastian Vettel is showing that he is passionate to come back into the sport, he fits into majority of the teams on the grid.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. But like, I also what I'm conscious of is that like I may be falling victim to nostalgia because it is a professional sport. They are athletes, and the same way in which I wouldn't have Steven Gerrard back at Liverpool in midfield, as much as I'd love to. He's not Steven Gerrard from 2012. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no. Do let us know. Cadillac coming to sport. Would you give Sebastian a seat over Perez? And yeah, do let us know. So, former AlphaTauri and Toro Rosso team principal Franz Tost said it's a complete joke to call F1 mechanics overworked given the change in workload. I mean, this one may annoy a few mechanics on the grid, but as we know, there's 24 races in a season, and he's gone on and said, people always say that the mechanics are overworked. That's a complete joke. They're not overworked at all. Now there's a curfew in Formula 1, which means it's over 9 p.m. in the evening until 8 a.m. the next morning. Jesus, what more do they want? They're allowed to work in Formula 1. That's a privilege. All the work-life balance, all that shit, it's totally pointless. You don't need something like that. It's always something for people who are too lazy to work. I mean, he's gone in.
That's a strong statement, but part of me struggles to disagree with him.
Yeah, okay.
People in this modern age, we do hate to work.
Yeah.
Working in F1 is a privilege. I also understand at the same point it is a job. But I think it's one of those things where you know what you're getting yourself into. And I think it's a sport at the very top. You kind of have to make the sacrifices. And the curfew, yeah, fine, 9 till 8. I mean, I'm sure a lot of NHS doctors would like an 11-hour break, and I'm sure a lot of the times they don't end up with that. You know, police officers, fire brigade. So I think, look, it's not necessarily easy, but I think it's the job at hand. And I'm not saying they should be worked to the absolute core. Get rid of the curfew, have them work until 4 a.m. They can have 2 hours sleep, and I think 11 hours is enough time in between to switch off. So I think that's a fair point. And I think if you go into this sort of job, it has to be for the love of it.
Well, you know that actually you're giving up a lot of your personal life because you're traveling the world. I mean, when you say it like this, you're traveling the world.
There's so many perks to the job.
Yeah. I can't imagine you have to pay for anything because everything is provided for you.
Yeah.
You're provided for a hotel you won't have to pay for. On paper, it looks amazing, but I'm not disagreeing that actually, mechanics, it can be, hard. You're going week after week doing different things away from your family. It's that balance, isn't it?
I'm not sitting here saying it's an easy job. It's an unbelievable job with some unbelievable perks that requires a lot of hard work. But for me, that is why it's such an incredible job. Like, yeah, you have to work so hard while you're at it because of what it is. If you didn't have to work so hard, it probably means because you're not in Formula One. You're doing it somewhere else at a lower level. So I think the working hard is why it's such a good job.
And also, but it's also that pressure that comes with it because it's a pressure of delivering a high standard session after session, and I suppose that's probably the most mentally challenging thing for mechanics is being able to deliver that standard. The pit stops, making sure the car's ready on time. Yeah. Those type of things I can imagine are quite tough. Quick question:
it's a passion. Might I just add it? It's like saying, One Direction might be a bad example, but like let's say like a pop star or whatever. They're worked too hard. They're touring the whole world, like gigging every night. They've done like 280 nights this year. That's unbelievable. Yeah, no, like I don't dispute it's hard work, but that is the price you pay, not in a detrimental way, because I'm sure they love their job, and yeah, it's incredibly hard, but the reason it's so hard is because it's so good and so it's at the pinnacle. And it's the same with this.
If you were a part of the mechanic team, what job would you like?
Have you seen I'd want to be the jack guy.
Yeah, I was going to say I'd be the jack man.
Do you see I can't remember who did the comedy sketch on it. Where it's like, this guy has to work like 8 seconds a weekend. It's true. It's great. I know he's got other responsibilities, but yeah, I think jack guy. Now, do you know what? I'd like to be like Bono or someone.
Yeah.
You really get to stay close to the race there. I'd
like to be the front left tyre man.
Nah, I wouldn't want to do tyres. Way too much pressure.
Yeah.
I'd fumble it every time.
Have you ever done one of those things, those challenges for changing a tyre?
Well, yeah, you did it with me at Red Bull.
Oh, of course we did, didn't we? Yeah, you were bad then, weren't you?
Nah, I think I beat you.
It's tough. And that's what I mean. Doing these, look, I'm not going to sit here and say it's an easy job because it looks like a hell of a lot of pressure. And to deliver that pressure, unless you're steak, because I'm not being funny, you can do 1 minute pit stops and that's quite comfortable.
Well, yeah, they just give up. There's no pressure on them because they're just fucking do it in a second. They've obviously seen the job title as mechanic and they've taken that literally as in like, I'll just be like a mechanic in the garage downtown. And they just sort of take the piss all day, just fuck around. When actually, they're an F1 mechanic. No, they need to be quick.
Do let us know. Right. As we know, the Williams car launch was this week, and Carlos Sainz and Alex Albon had their say on why it is wrong to threaten Formula 1 drivers with bans for swearing. There has definitely been discussions about it. Albon said it's still ongoing about how we want to set out what we say around it. It's a delicate matter, and of course, do we think it's right? Of course not. Carlos Sainz then said, what we say on the car radio, I don't agree with what is happening. I think you cannot be too tough on these kind of things because you cannot understand the pressure and adrenaline and the way we feel in the car when we open the radio. And we've touched on that before. The amount of pressure that you're inside the cockpit. He said, and I feel for F1, it's good to have those moments because you see the real driver. And I 100% agree with Carlos Sainz there because what you hear on the radio, some of the most iconic moments and some of the love you have for these drivers comes from these radio messages.
Yeah, and can I just say it's not 1960 anymore. Like people swear, people swear in front of people. It's fine. Like, do you know what the most pathetic thing about all this? The radio messages are bleeped when they're broadcast.
Yeah.
Half the time, you don't even know what they're saying. Sometimes it's just all bleeped. So I really don't understand the problem with it. I mean, I'm not surprised they think it's stupid because it is stupid. Yeah. It's not a case of like, oh, this might genuinely be beneficial to the sport. This is just.
It's not beneficial. It's not beneficial at all. Do let us know on that. So, Carlos Sainz was also discussed about Lewis Hamilton. He said Lewis Hamilton has a high chance for the F1 world title this year with Ferrari. He said, when I left Ferrari, I did feel the team and Charles were ready to fight for world championships. And with Lewis joining, that chance is only going to increase. When I look at Lewis' results and his background and what he's achieved, I can only say that there will be a very high chance that he's going to be competitive for Ferrari. But like everything, it will all depend on how well he can adapt to the car and how well he can adapt to the team. Firstly, Carlos Sainz, I love you because
you're a better man than me.
You throughout this whole period, he has been a true gent. He really has.
I tell you what, I'd be pulling up to Maranello with blacked out windows, balaclava, and I'd be throwing eggs at Lewis Hamilton's windows because I would not be dealing with this as well as him. And I know it's not Lewis's fault; it's all the team, and this is the nature of the sport. But yeah, he's been humble. Is that the word? He's taken the whole thing. Kendrick
Lamar would say, stay humble.
Yeah, A minor.
Yeah,
that was
also what he said. Yeah.
Not that, that's not an accusation or anything. I just want to clear that up for the record.
It's on a keyboard, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, no, that would be A flat, but I mean, the You could play the chord A minor.
Oh, could you? Yeah, that's what I thought it
It's
was.
your favourite chord, isn't it?
Right, move on.
Every interview that you hear him talk, it's very good.
Yeah.
Like he
conducts himself very, very well.
And can I just add, like, if he was coming out and being like bratty about the whole thing, I would completely understand that as well.
Yeah.
Like, I would be on board with that. I think that would actually be funnier. I'd rather him do that now I'm thinking about it. I'd rather him throw shade at Lewis every time, and Ferrari.
But also, the one thing I do like about what Carlos Sainz says there, he's been very complimentary of Ferrari. He knows what Ferrari were doing, and he knows what they're going. They're trying to achieve. So, he's been very complimentary throughout the whole process. And I agree with Lewis going there. It only strengthens that.
Yeah, I mean, no one's sat there and thought, "Oh my god, Ferrari signing Lewis Hamilton." That's weakened them. Now they look worse.
Bernie Ecclestone did.
Oh my god, that guy has no idea what's going on. He's so old now.
People loved your nursing home comment.
Did they?
Yeah.
Good, thanks.
Yeah, do let us know. Carlos Sainz, true gent.
Carlos
Sainz. Right. So, since leaving Alpine, I can't say this. Otmar
You can't say a lot today, if I'm totally honest. You've been struggling.
There's a lot of words here. Right, how do you say his surname? Otmar.
Go on.
No,
Otmar Safnauer.
Okay. Has been collaborating with a manufacturer about entering a 12th team. And he was discussed about this. I've been working with some American funders and some car manufacturers to look at a 12th team for the future. At the time when I started the project, it was going to be the 11th team. But now Cadillac is in, so there's going to be 11th spot. So when they open up the process for adding the 12th team, I hope we'll be able to put in a robust case. To allow the 12th team to go to the people that I have funding it, as well as the manufacturer that I'm working with. That makes no sense whatsoever. Anyway, he's looking at bringing the 12th team in. Interestingly, and I don't know if you knew this, as stipulated by the Concord Agreement, an entry fee of at least $200 million is necessary for a team to join F1.
No, I did know that. I was actually reading the Concord Agreement the other night.
Were you actually?
No, obviously not. How the hell would I know that?
Is that exciting for the sport? And another team? Obviously, we know we've got Cadillac coming in.
I think it's cool.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that's... It being Otmar Safnauer is the exciting part of it.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's fine. Like, whoever. I think a 12 team is cool. But... will it happen? Probably not. I mean, we struggled to get an 11th team. We know that Andretti couldn't do it. And we also saw through that process how political everything is. It's not necessarily done on a... what's the word? A level playing field.
Yeah.
We also know that the teams are against this for what I consider good reason. Obviously, it reduces the prize fund. I feel like if you're going to bring 12 teams in, realistically, you're going to have to increase the prize fund.
Yep.
So distribution isn't affected. But if it happens, it happens. Cool. I think, the more cars that we have on the grid, to an extent, I don't think we'd want to see any more than 24. No. I think if we then started talking about a 13th team, it'd be getting a little bit ridiculous. But I think 12 teams is the absolute max. I'd be happy with that.
Well, one thing I can tell you is when I was in Belgium last year, I watched F3. There was 30 cars on that grid, and it was mental.
It's chaos, yeah. And that's the thing, like, I don't want F1 to be chaos. I want it to be entertaining. I want it to be full of surprises. But not in the way that F3 is, where it's mental.
Yeah, no, I agree. Do let us know. Would you like a 12 team in the grid? Right, Max Verstappen keeps making history. Can you tell me how many days he has led the World Championship for?
Oof, God, the math that I'm going to have to do here. Well, I think it would be from sometime in 2022.
Yep.
So I'm going to go 957.
It is 1,000 days in the lead.
Wow. Not a bad guess. Can I just add?
No. So by the time you reach Australia, it'll be 1,029 days.
Yeah. Do you know how good that is? That means we've got 29 days. Was that today?
That was yesterday. 28 days.
28 days.
It's impressive. It's very impressive. And, Max just keeps on. It's impressive. It's impressive.
Actually, well, that's one thing I want to talk about. TikTok. You can't win. You absolutely cannot win on that place. I hate it. I spoke last week about Max Verstappen being in the same category as Michael Schumacher
Yep.
and Lewis Hamilton in terms of his ability, which is undeniably true. I'm sorry. Other than the fact that he hasn't got the longevity of the pair of those, I'm sorry, Max Verstappen is as good of a racing driver that you're ever going to see.
I don't know. You got quite a lot of support on it.
I did, but then I said, as a Lewis Hamilton fan, right, it really pains me to say this, but Max is unbelievable.
Yeah.
He is as good as Schumacher and Lewis, but if he's ever going to be in the debate sort of 20, 30 years down the line, he needs to do it for a longer period of time. And I've also said way back, I need to see Max go head to head with someone. Like, we saw it with Lewis. Lewis got robbed. But we haven't seen it really for the rest of his world championships. Oh my God. Rather than people just being like, yeah, no, fair play, like Max is good. Because if you say Max is bad, you get beaten on TikTok, right? And kind of rightly so, because he's not. So now I'm saying he's good, and I'm getting comments about saying, oh, why is it painful? Why does that hurt to say? Because I'm a Lewis Hamilton fan, that's why.
You should know that.
Like, have you got some of them there?
To be fair, I can't find the ones you're talking about. Why does it pain him to say it? Well, no one got back to you there. Why does it pain you to say he's on the same level as them? And why would it upset you if he wins 8 or 9 world championships? The hate is unreal, man. There's still time to delete this, And then he came back and went, no thanks.
But it's not hate. It's not hate. I'm sitting there saying that Max Verstappen is as good as... How is that hateful?
Well, what's your beef with Max? I generally don't understand.
I'm a
Young generation don't know anything about F1 these days.
Right, so what? So Max Verstappen isn't one of the best drivers ever?
I don't understand. I actually thought your point was actually very good. And I agreed with you. There's one comment on here. Oh, where has it gone now? We can't put Max in with the greats as hasn't proven himself. He is a good driver, but all his championships, he has had the fastest car. And Team Advantage's car is built to Max's driving style. You came back and went, yeah, Michael and Lewis never had that, with a emoji.
I was being sarcastic.
With a Pinocchio nose.
Yeah.
And he went, Michael did it in Ferrari. The car was designed for him only. Team orders Lewis ever had was like 21 after Bottas fell to many. I mean,
I just see the sort of people that you're dealing
well,
with.
the thing is, I'm struggling with actually reading things today as it is, and this is confusing me even further.
Everyone, pretty much everyone who's ever won a world championship, has the best car.
Yeah.
If not like an equal to the best car. Pretty much all of those drivers will have had the car built to their specification.
Yep.
Within reason, like to their how they drive. There's no way that Mercedes were not making that Mercedes how Lewis Hamilton wanted it to drive after he went on to win so many world championships. Lewis also had the fastest car for the majority. Well, I mean, for all his championships.
Yeah.
The closest it was obviously 2021, which he didn't win. When he was going really close with everyone, it was Nico Rosberg, who was also in the Mercedes. The Ferrari came pretty close at time, but the Mercedes was still the better car. I think we can all accept that. And then the McLaren, when he went head to head with Massa, they were both very good cars.
Yeah.
So I'm not having this that you can't put Max in the conversation with the greats because he's only done it with the quickest car. Oh, what? Seb won 4 world championships with the quickest car. Like Jenson Button won a world championship with the quickest car for half a season.
Guys, you've triggered him.
But it's just impossible to you can't win, and that's my point.
You can't. Right. You right?
Yeah, I'm calm.
You good? Okay, so James Vowles has been speaking about
I
Colapinto.
thought he commented.
He said, Luke, shut up. No, I'm joking. He said,
He would agree with me.
yeah. So James Vowles has been speaking about Colapinto and his move to Alpine. And he said the important part is he is an Alpine driver for a number of years. I hope he comes back to Williams. The reason he did it is that I really want him to be racing in 2025 or 2026. And this is the best chance he has without being with us. I respect it. I respect James Vowles for actually going, we realistically didn't want to get rid of Colapinto, but actually we believe he has a good future in F1 and we want to give him that opportunity. So his best opportunity is actually leaving us and going to Alpine.
Do you remember the crazy calls where people were like, "Oh, they should let Sainz go elsewhere and take Colapinto"?
Yeah.
Why would they do that? Why would anyone do that?
You're always keeping Carlos Sainz.
Yeah, exactly. Alex Albon.
Meh.
At this point in time, you are taking Alex Albon over Colapinto.
At this point in time, yes.
Correct.
It'd be interesting to see how the season goes.
We don't know where Colapinto's ceiling is. I think we've kind of found Alex Albon's, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And
as we said, it's a big season for Alex Albon. So actually, Colapinto going to Alpine, it means he has a better chance of getting him back into the sport, which we would love to see. I would love to see him back in the sport.
That is one thing. Part of me thinks, is it a little surprising that we've sat here and said before, this is a big test for Alex Albon this season, because we haven't seen Alex Albon go head to head with a proper good driver since Max Verstappen at Red Bull. And we all know the sort of how it goes for Red Bull number twos and what everyone says about that car, driving it, how it's really, really difficult because how Max wants the car is just unconventional to like a normal driver. But Alex Albon is now going head to head with what we consider, or who we consider, a very good driver. If he is absolutely battered by Carlos Sainz, what do Williams do now? Let's say we get to the midpoint of the season and actually Carlos Sainz is regularly picking up sort of 2 points here, 3 points there, 1 point over there. Alex Albon, he's having some shockers. Are they then thinking, oh my God, I can't believe we let Colapinto go?
No, because I think James Vowles likes and has seen enough in Alex Albon to warrant his seat, if that makes sense. I think Carlos Sainz coming in, I don't think any of us are sitting here going, Carlos Sainz is going to be beaten by Alex Albon. If anything, that would be a bigger surprise to see Carlos Sainz beaten by Alex Albon.
Yeah.
But I expect Alex Albon to at least be not far off Carlos Sainz. And I think if he's like that throughout the season, I think you can say he's doing a pretty good job, especially heading into that 2026 era of new cars.
But if it does go the way that I just said,
then I think James Vowles will be... I don't think James Vowles will regret Colapinto leaving at this moment in time because I think he feels he's got his perfect pairing. But I think if it comes to halfway through the season and Alex Albon isn't picking up those points, he's having shockers, he's been in the car in the walls each week, then he will be thinking to himself, like, where is the future here for Alex Albon? But I don't think James Vowles would have got rid of Colapinto if he didn't have the faith in Alex Albon.
Also, I'm not sure he got rid of him.
We're not
allowed him to leave.
Because if you don't have that much faith in your driver pairing that you've got, and you feel that actually Colapinto could come into a seat, you would keep him as your reserve driver, surely.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. Part of me thinks actually should they have done more to try and keep hold of him on the books? Because Colapinto's rise to Formula One was kind of in the blink of an eye.
Yeah. It is a weird one that they didn't try and keep him in some sort of capacity within the Williams team.
I wonder if there's a clause in the contract with Alpine or something.
It may have been, and that's something which I feel was probably more shocking for me, that Williams didn't keep hold of him in some sort of capacity. But on the other hand, I feel James Vowles in his opinion, has his perfect pairing.
Oh no, absolutely. I'm not disagreeing with like the existing pairing. I'm just saying, what if it goes wrong? Now they've kind of lost a perfect backup.
Yeah, well, Logan Sargent will probably be free.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Do let us know. Do let us know. It's a good question, though. Good question. Lando Norris. Obviously, they did some testing this week.
Well, no, it was a media day.
A media day. But they still went out in the car.
Yeah.
And he was asked about Lewis Hamilton to Ferrari. And he was asked about, can Lewis Hamilton win a championship? And do you think he's too old to go on and win a championship? And Lando Norris went, it's Lewis. Anyone who doubts him is a bit silly.
Yeah, and that's, I think, pretty much what we've always said. There's no point writing him off because you just never write someone like that off.
No, and I think,
I think if he has the car, yeah, it could be a very interesting season.
Do you think drivers who, over the last couple of years of how it's been at Mercedes, do you think, a lot of drivers probably have kind of ruled him out in some sense because they were like, okay, he's just not delivering in that car. With him going to Ferrari with this new challenge, with this new, whole new, what's the word I'm looking for? Role and team and everything like that. Do you think drivers are now going, okay, now we've got to be a bit concerned about him?
I think there's something intimidating about the whole setup. I think there's something intimidating about having Lewis Hamilton at Ferrari. So if Ferrari have a car that is capable, then I think, yeah, a lot of drivers will fear Lewis like they did for a long time when he was at Mercedes.
Yeah, interesting. Do let us know. Right, quick question for you. And I want you guys to also comment down below. Which 2025 livery reveal are you most looking forward to? Because as we know, it's this week.
I can't lie, it's Mercedes.
Is it?
Yeah, I can't. I don't think that can just leave my system. There was. I got so excited about the Mercedes livery launches that I think that just still exists.
Yeah.
And it's because also I think they are probably at this point the only car that does actually switch up their liveries, really.
Yeah.
You could maybe look at Alpine. The Williams generally just looks the same now. Red Bull's not even worth the conversation. McLaren, Ferrari is just red. And that's cool. Maybe you're thinking, I should be most excited for that one, but I'm not because it just looks the same. So yeah, definitely Mercedes.
I'm really looking forward to seeing Arby's.
Why?
I don't know.
It's
obviously,
look the same, man.
Well, we don't know, do we? We don't know.
Do.
No, I'm looking.
Mercedes actively changed theirs to like the point where it does distinctly look like a different car.
Yeah.
To the one last year.
All right. Well, going back to what you said at the beginning of this podcast, it's opinions. Okay?
Yeah, but your opinion is wrong.
Okay, fair enough. Right. Do let us know what 2025 livery you're most excited for.
Because, yeah, obviously that's... So while you're listening to this podcast, they would have all come out today. Because it's the Tuesday, isn't it?
It is.
I was told it's on TV.
F1 TV, I believe.
It's on I have F1 TV. It costs me a whopping £2.99 a month.
Perfect. There you
Nice.
go. Right. Quick quiz for you.
Okay, I really like these.
Right. There is only 2 teams this year who have the same driver lineup. Can you tell me who they are?
Yes. McLaren and Aston Martin.
Well done. Right, let's move on.
Is
Right.
that it? That was the quiz?
That was a quiz.
Were
yeah.
you expecting me to not know? Or...
I was expecting you to go, let me have a think about this. But actually, that was, impressive.
Clip that one.
Yeah, I will do, yeah. Interesting fact for you. So, only 39 out of 777 Formula 1 drivers have 8 or more wins.
What? Only 39 out of...
777 Formula 1 drivers have 8 or more wins. That's 5% of the total F1 drivers. If that doesn't signify that Daniel Ricciardo deserved a better goodbye, then I don't know what does. We've actively said on this podcast, Daniel Ricciardo Deserved a better send-off from F1.
And we've also said he had a better F1 career than most. And that is a fact. Do you know what? We also spoke last week about, will Charles Leclerc's career be a failure if he doesn't win a world championship? And I said, absolutely not. He's won like 7 or 8 races now.
Yeah, higher than that.
That's an incredible achievement as an F1 driver, because not a lot of drivers win races, and he's won not just one, he's won multiple F1 races, and big ones as well, big personal ones.
No, I agree with you. Right, it's that time. Guess the driver.
Right, everyone, you know, every week I get quizzed for whatever reason, I actually don't know, on a driver who has maybe still races or has previously been in the sport. I get given the date that they joined the sport and the date that they left the sport, but that obviously maybe they still race. And weirdly, I have this bank of knowledge that I had no idea existed inside my head, and I'm just really good at it.
I'm pretty confident today that I've got you on this.
Okay.
So, starting off with, okay, first year, 2011, last year, 2015.
Oh my god, that's so hard. 2000. I'm just trying to think back to the grid.
Do you want a clue?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to.
He had 95 Grand Prix.
But that doesn't help me, because 2011 to 2015, I can pretty much work out roughly how many Grand Prix he's raced.
Okay. Do you want? He had 1 win.
Do you know what? Is it Pastor Maldonado?
No, no, clear. No.
Genuinely,
this is utterly ridiculous.
I genuinely thought that when you said 2011 to 2015, right? And I sat there and I thought the only name that came to my head was Pastor Maldonado.
I'm not having this. I'm not, like, this is ridiculous. How are you so good at this?
I don't know. I wish I'd just gone with my instinct and just said Pastor Maldonado before any of the clues.
That's impressive.
Because you would have been absolutely blown away with that.
I would have. This next one, 2011 to 2017.
My God, that's a really tricky one. 2011 to 2017.
Yep.
I don't want the clue of how many races he's done, because it's probably something like, well, it's probably maybe like 180.
No, 59.
Oh, so he was kind of a bit part. Ericsson?
Nope. So overall, 121 points.
Wait, 2011 is a bit early for Ericsson, isn't it? Overall, how many points?
121. I generally think I got you on this one.
No, I'm not.
If you've got this at home, comment down below, because it's impressive.
2011
Yep.
to 2017.
Yep.
Think back to the grid. I know you're gonna say it, and then it's gonna annoy me. Can I have another clue?
Well, I mean, the clues are pretty simple. No wins and no top threes.
I just can't even think. Jolyon Palmer.
No, you're on the right.
Paul di Resta.
Fuck off. It is Paul
They're
di
the
Resta.
only two. They were the only two I had in my head.
It is Paul di Resta. I'm going to semi-give you that one.
Yeah,
because
I'll take half a point.
Okay. 2019 to 2024. Well, it's actually 2019 and he's still on the grid.
2019, still on the grid.
Yeah.
George Russell.
Well done. 2021 and he's still on the grid.
2021. Still on the grid. Well, I know Yuki Tsunoda came in 2021, but I'm pretty sure Yuki.
Right, 2022 to 2023.
22 to 23. Nick DeVries.
Well done. Impressive. I have to give it to you. The first two, I was adamant you weren't going to get. So
the second one was a lot harder.
yeah. So well done. Right, team principal time. So hypothetical question. Each week I give Luke 5 drivers to pick from. He has to pick 2 drivers for his team. Have you thought of a name this week? And 1 reserve driver. So
Matt's Mowers.
Here we go. So your drivers, I come in, we sit down, the board are there, okay? You're on your list, you've got Kimi Antonelli, Bortoletto, Ollie Behrman, Jack Doohan, and Isaac Hadjar.
Oh, for me, that's actually kind of easy.
Okay.
Antonelli, Bortoletto, Hadjar reserve.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think people think some of the people that comment, I think that we're like biased towards English people, which is honestly just the most ridiculous thing in the world. Like if you've ever listened to any of the podcasts, like naturally I tend to support the Brits because it's kind of what you do.
Yeah.
But like I'm normally very impartial about my opinions on people's abilities, and Behrman is someone who I really hope does well, but I don't actually. I don't think it's going to work out for him. I'd rather be wrong on that. You know, like I just don't. It's not even that I don't think he's good. Like he's obviously a very good driver. I just don't think he's as good as some of the others that have come through.
Okay.
So he just wasn't a question in my mind. And who's the other one you said?
Hadjar, Doohan.
Doohan. You know, I agree to the point where with what people say is that Doohan has kind of presented himself as a mediocre driver. He may prove me wrong this year, but I can only go off what I've seen, and yeah, I think it's fair to rate. And you might be thinking, well, Kimi Antonelli came into the Mercedes at Monza and stuck it in a wall. Absolutely true, but I do think it says a lot about someone's ability being thrown into a top team at 18. Whether it's going to work out or not, I don't know, but if they're taking that risk, I would take that risk also.
So press conference comes round. Your 2 drivers are
Antonelli, Bortoletto,
reserve driver
Hadjar.
Nice.
And I think that's fair. Yeah. Some of you might say it should be Hadjar and Bortoletto, Antonelli reserve. I also wouldn't argue with that.
No, do let us know. Comment below. Right, fan questions. So James Fowles thinks it's all going to be really close this year. Which team has the best processes to rise?
Well, I think McLaren.
Yep.
McLaren are obviously the early favourites. We saw what Ferrari were doing towards the end of the season, and they looked like they were on the right path. I think I would expect them. They are the most likely title contenders alongside McLaren. If there's going to be a battle, I believe it's going to be between the two of those. Never write off Red Bull, because you just shouldn't, especially when you've got Max Verstappen behind the wheel. But they have also really dominated this era of cars. But I think it'd be silly to put any money on them at this point, based on how the performance curve looked last season. Mercedes, so hit and miss. I still don't believe they understand this generation of cars, which is why I'm so delighted that Lewis Hamilton is out of that team. But they are a team that have proven to always be there or thereabouts. even in this new era of cars, that they have always been there. It's only going to take a small development for them to completely crack it. And I said that the whole time Lewis was there as well. It really is just going to take one thing, because we saw it with McLaren. McLaren did, and I by one thing I don't mean like a tiny little, oh, you should have tightened that bolt a little. It could be a huge change, but it could be a small thing in the grand scheme of things, and it can completely change the scope of your season. And I think we can't write off that possibility of Mercedes, because they're a world championship winning team.
No, I agree with you. I agree. Right. How long is enough time for a rookie? I mean, we've said this a couple of times on the podcast before, haven't we? That actually, you need to give them the first year to really gel.
But I think it also has to be taken. You have to take that circumstantially. If a rookie is having a truly horrendous season, as in, like maybe crashing out, not finishing races, coming last by a long way, I think you can't give them any more than a year. If it's truly, truly shocking. I think if it's like, okay, we've had a few errors, but we've seen like actually a few highlights here. You've got to give them into the summer of the next year, because at the end of the day they are rookies, right? But on the flip side of that, they're professional Formula One drivers. These aren't just, they're not World War II Spitfire pilots that have been trained for 20 minutes and then sent into the sky. Like, they still spent their whole lives building up to this moment. They should be stepping into the car and they should be performing. And I know people probably hate it when I use this, but if Lewis Hamilton can come in his first season as a rookie, granted in a car that was competitive, and go for a world championship and then win it the next year, there's no excuse for a rookie to be coming in and dropping an absolute stinker in the first season, unless it is purely the car. But then you'd have to compare them to their teammate.
Yeah, no, it's fair. Valid point, though. Do let us know. So, can Oscar Piastri be better than Lando Norris?
Well, do you want to answer this one? I know you like this debate.
No, I want to hear your point. It's a good question.
Can he be? Is that this season?
I'm assuming he's saying overall. Can he?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's got potential, but I mean, you have to remember that Lando is not at his ceiling either. Lando's still young. I think. For me, Lando still looks like the better driver, and not in the sense where they don't look like they're in two different categories. Oscar looks like a very good driver, and I mean, to the point where I think McLaren have as good a lineup as anyone. But I would still say Lando does look like the stronger driver generally. But it was only Oscar's second year in the sport, so I think this season could be important for Oscar, because I think if he plays or ends up playing second fiddle to Lando again, it could be a little bit definitive for his future at McLaren. I'm not saying they're going to get rid of him by any means, because they won't. But it could be telling that, this is the situation. Yeah. Oscar's a great driver, but he's our number two. Lando, he's the one that if we are going to win anything, it will be him.
Yeah, no, look, I've said before, I like Oscar. I personally believe he will become better than Lando Norris. That's just my personal opinion. But I can't argue. This year is going to be quite big for him. He's obviously had his first rookie season. He's come into his second season, won races, won the Constructors' World Championship, and now they're coming to the third season. He'd be more mature. He'd be more used to the team. He'd be more used to fighting for wins and being up the front. So yeah, I think this year is key for Oscar to, in this debate between who is better, Oscar and Lando in the future.
Yeah.
Finally, favourite F1 track you would love to go to? I think we've said this before, but
I think at this point, to be fair, it's Monza. while Lewis is there. I want to go to Monza while Lewis is there.
Yeah. Monza, for me, I'd love to go to Brazil.
Yeah, I think
that'd be sick.
I think generally, Brazil would be the best one to go
Yeah.
to. I think that would be so sick.
But yeah, Monza or Brazil, I would love to go to.
If you'd asked me prior to this, I would have said, like, as in prior to this season, I would have said Brazil. But I think seeing Lewis at Ferrari at Monza would be unrivaled.
Be sick. Do let us know which Grand Prix would you love to go to, and if you are going this year, do also drop a comment. But that is the end of the podcast.
That is the end of Racecast, as you know it.
But we are coming back.
Yeah, we are.
So don't get that wrong. Don't sit there all excited like, oh, thank God these guys are going. We are coming back.
Yeah, we will be back.
But yeah, you can do the outro.
Oh, well, I mean, the outro is not something I normally do, but thank you very much for joining us on this 3-year journey.
It is 3-year journey.
It's been a roller coaster, and I like to think that some of you have weirdly been here from the start. It's not ending here. We're just stepping off this roller coaster and jumping onto another one. So stay tuned for all the updates. Like I said, the links to our social media channels are in the description down below. I encourage you at this point to click through to Instagram to follow us so you can stay up to date with all the latest news. And you still might as well like the video, comment and subscribe if you are new, because we will be uploading clips to this channel in the future. It's been a journey. Peace.